You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You procrastinate because the wrong path is easier. That tab you didn't close, the phone you left beside you, the workspace that doesn't tell your brain, now we focus. These are not accidents, they're invitations, silent ones, to delay what matters most. I'm Marcus Voss. I help people rebuild their mental clarity and structure using neuroscience, not noise. This channel isn't about motivation, it's about systems that actually work, because they're built around how your brain really functions. And today I'm going to show you a method that flips your internal resistance, so that focus becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The problem isn't that you lack motivation, it's that your environment is silently training your brain to choose the path of least resistance, and that path leads away from what matters. Your mind will always follow the path that feels easier in the moment, and in a world where distraction is one click away, your default system is wired to avoid focus, not because you're weak, but because the structure around you makes it the harder option. The phone within reach, the open tabs, the neutral space with no signals of clarity, they're not neutral at all, they're frictionless traps, and your brain, built for efficiency, keeps falling into them. This is why willpower alone doesn't work, because your external world shapes your internal patterns. The cues, the triggers, the layout of your space, they speak to your nervous system louder than any plan or intention. Without realizing it, you're working against an invisible setup that rewards distraction and punishes depth. And if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you keep asking why it's so hard to focus, this is the truth most people miss. It's not just about what you do, it's about what surrounds what you do. Until that changes, the cycle of guilt, delay, and self-criticism will repeat, no matter how badly you want to break it. But there is another way, and it starts by changing the structure that guides your behavior, not by forcing more discipline, but by making focus the easiest choice in the room. Let's break down the exact mechanism behind this and how to flip it. If you've ever sat down to work, fully intending to focus, and somehow ended up scrolling, checking messages, opening random tabs, only to look up and wonder where the time went, you're not alone. That isn't laziness, that's fatigue, that's frustration, that's your brain reacting to a system designed to pull you off track. And the worst part, you blame yourself. You tell yourself to try harder tomorrow. You feel the guilt building, not because you didn't care, but because you cared and still couldn't follow through. You had the will, you just didn't have the structure. It's the same loop, over and over. You start your day with good intentions, but your phone's on the desk, your workspace is cluttered, your browser is loaded with distractions, and your brain is walking through a mental minefield of unfinished tasks. Everything around you silently nudges your attention away from what matters, and you don't even realize it's happening. You're fighting a current without knowing it's there. Your environment, without your permission, is training your brain to default to ease, and ease usually means avoidance, not progress. It's not that you're unmotivated, it's that you're outnumbered. Every time you try to focus, you're wrestling against invisible friction that makes doing the right thing feel harder than it should. But here's the truth that changes everything. You don't need more motivation, you need less resistance. You need to flip the friction, so distraction becomes inconvenient and clarity becomes the path of least resistance. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how to do that, based on how your brain is wired. Because once you see the system, you can start to rebuild it and finally break the loop. You can solve. Let's talk about what's really happening inside your brain when you procrastinate. Not just what you feel, but what's actually being wired beneath the surface. Your brain isn't working against you. It's doing what it was designed to do: conserve energy and avoid uncertainty. That's how it survived for thousands of years. When faced with two paths, one requiring focus and effort, and the other offering instant ease, it chooses the path of least resistance, every time. This isn't laziness, it's biology. Your limbic system, which governs emotional responses and survival instincts, is constantly pulling you toward what feels good now, not what pays off later. That's why opening social media feels effortless. It's why organizing your workspace feels overwhelming. The brain interprets complexity as a threat and defaults to the simpler route. Now imagine your brain like a stream of water. It flows toward the lowest, easiest path. If your environment is full of open tabs, background noise, visible distractions, that water finds a downhill slide straight into avoidance. Not because you're weak, but because the structure makes it the easiest choice. But here's the empowering truth. That stream can be redirected. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to change and adapt, means every small repeated action lays a new groove, a new pathway, one that can eventually become the new default. When you remove resistance from the right actions and add resistance to the wrong ones, you're not just managing tasks, you're reshaping behavior. You're teaching your nervous system that clarity, not chaos, is the new safe zone. Willpower can get you started, but it's structure that sustains change. Because your environment doesn't just reflect your focus, it creates it. So now that you understand how the system works, it's time to invert the friction. To design one simple space where focus becomes easier than distraction. Let me show you exactly how. Let me introduce a powerful tool. It's called the 1 square meter rule. 1 square meter, that's all you need. A symbolic space, stripped of distraction and designed for a single purpose, focus. This isn't just minimalism, it's a behavioral signal to your brain. When you step into the zone, you're stepping out of mental chaos and into cognitive clarity. Here's your challenge. Within the next 24 hours, create your square. Find a space, your desk, a corner of the table, the floor by a window, then clear it completely. Remove your phone, close all tabs, no snacks, no visual clutter, just one tool and one task. A notebook, a laptop, a book, anything that aligns with what you want to complete. Now sit down, breathe once, and begin. No multitasking, no jumping between windows, just one task, one presence in 1 square meter. Why does this work? Because your brain responds to patterns and spaces. When you associate a physical environment with focused action and repeat that link, your neural pathways begin to shift. You're building a microenvironment that tells your nervous system, here we focus, here we move forward. It's called inverted friction for a reason. You're flipping the default, making distraction harder to access and clarity easier to engage. You're not pushing harder, you're removing the invisible drag that's been pulling you off course. And this isn't about perfection, it's about setting a new baseline. Because when you build clarity into your physical world, your mind starts to follow. Over time, that square meter becomes your cognitive anchor, a space where focus no longer feels forced, but familiar. So take the step, today, not tomorrow. Your life doesn't change in massive leaps. It changes in rituals that become identity. Start with a space, then let it shape the person who shows up in it. This is your moment to begin, 1 square meter at a time. Today you discover that procrastination isn't a flaw in your character, it's a signal from your environment. You learn that your brain follows the path of least resistance, and when distraction is closer than intention, focus becomes a fight. You saw the power of flipping friction, of making clarity easier and chaos harder to reach, and you took a small but bold step by claiming 1 square meter of pure intention. That space is no longer just physical, it's symbolic, it's a new standard, and you made it here. That matters. Because real change doesn't begin with doing more. It begins when you redesign the system around you, one intentional shift at a time. You don't need to hustle harder. You need structure that works with your brain, not against it. And you've already started. Now let's take the next step, together. If today's episode showed you that focus is not a personal flaw but the result of a broken system, then you're already one step ahead of the loop you've been stuck in. Change My Mind is not another self-help course. It's a complete cognitive reset, built to rewire how you plan, decide, and follow through, grounded in neuroscience, designed for real life. If your days feel scattered, if you keep slipping into distraction and exhaustion, this is the framework that helps you regain control, one shift at a time, with structure that adapts to you, not the other way around. The link is in the description, and this program is only available through this channel. Click now to access Change My Mind and start designing the mental system your life deserves. If this content resonated with you, hit like, share it with someone who needs clarity, and comment below. What's the one habit that steals your focus the most? In the next episode, how to think like a system and not just improvise through your day. I'm Marcus Voss, expert in focus, productivity, and mental clarity, and your next chapter starts here.